Hi, I'm Hillary, and welcome to Grace Between Races.
Hi, I'm Anne, and welcome to Grace Between Races. Um, we're telling our stories today, a little bit, maybe about a few minutes, and I'm gonna start. My name is Anne Marie. I was born in Trinidad. Um, I came to Montreal about 25 years ago. Um, I, have been on this journey of self realization for many, many years. I experienced throughout my life a lot of different traumas. And through those experiences, I wanted to figure out myself within the context of the whole. I have 4 children, and I wanted to be the best self that I could bring to my children and my family. Um, Through that, it led me on a path to through different experiences, it led me to explore different techniques and different principles. And through that journey, I met different people, and I think this is one of the reasons why I came into contact with Hillary, and through that we decided to start a group, and that led us to forming Grace Between Races. This is it for me in a nutshell. I mean, there's much more detail in between that, but of course, but this is how we connected to form the group, basically. And yeah, so it was quite an interesting journey. And I think it is one that is evolving. So hopefully, we could move forward with it from here. So I'll pass it on to Hillary.
Thanks, Anne. Yeah, and I just want to acknowledge, I think it's really important to say that you're a mom and a grandmother as well, and that
Yes.
it's a huge part of your life, and that you're in your son's room right now, which is relevant to our sharing too, and just recognizing the imagery there and how that's so powerful, And so I'm Hillary, and I grew up in Metro Detroit, and my dad's a British immigrant, and my mom, all of her grandparents came from Poland. And I've traveled a lot, studied a lot in different places of the world, and mostly studied religion and the arts in my life and spirituality. And I have been kind of putting these things together as much as possible, and woke up around race when I was in grad school, before in some ways, but like really woke up in grad school, and have been trying to figure out how to put like my spiritual practices and racial awakening work and social justice work together. And yeah, I met Anne through this really interesting summit that I was in, that our mutual friend, invited us both to, and that we were connected to, and Anne reached out to me. So we're sharing a little bit about how we started this group too, and how that was really dynamic for both of us, and for me to have you reach out and then to be like, what is the purpose of our connection, and really to feel into that and
Right.
ask you about like, what is it like as a Black woman to ask a white woman, me, for healing work, because that's kind of what the kind of agreement might have been if we had like connected with otherwise, or kind of the assumption could be. And
Mm-hmm.
that was an amazing conversation.
Yes, it was.
And then, well, you said you're like, I want to continue this conversation, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
And I didn't have, I told you right away that I didn't have a problem working with anybody, you know, with a white person or asking for help. For me, I didn't see like a barrier there. So that's how we started to go, because I felt that kind of came across as almost like a surprise to you. But no, it wasn't an issue for me at all.
It's not
And
for me. It's just more of that. I just wanted to talk about it. I wanted to,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
that and being willing to talk about it, like, was what was I was interested, and you
Well,
much that you wanted
yeah,
talking about it.
I just wanted to say that I was comfortable, you know, with working with anybody, and reaching out was not didn't feel uncomfortable for me, you know. Um, so yeah, so that's how we started to discuss, and it went into like you know, so why don't we form a group, and then it evolved from there, where we met a few times and started to discuss about, well, what would we call it? What would it look like? You know, how would we go about it, and so forth. And so we started we had a few ideas for the names. For the name, we had a few names for Grace Between Races, and we just played around with it, and we settled on Grace Between Races. And at the time, it felt right. It felt aligned to what we were trying um, to envision. And yeah, we settled on Grace Between Races, and
We didn't really know
I felt great about the name.
but we didn't really know exactly what it meant. Like, we did, but we hadn't
Yes,
really understood it until
yes,
the challenge.
yes. I agree. I agree.
More recently. And then I mean, we loved the name, but to be challenged on it, like, gave us more of a sense of, oh, we really need to understand how to explain this.
Yes, yes.
And
Yeah.
so it cultivated this new clarity to come through. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, for me, it was about, well, like, grace is beyond culture for me. It's
Right.
about getting into an experience of deep connection outside
Mm-hmm.
of what I know, into that unknown place, and being able to be in that space of betweenness or transition. And some call it liminal, is like a very academic term, but more of that place um, between differences, and being willing to change and to grow from that experience,
Mm-hmm.
stepping
Mm-hmm.
beyond what is known. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, like, I feel really excited about the name and about defining it more for people so that we can help others to understand why we created this and what it's about.
Yeah. I felt like when it was discussed in the group, the name, like somebody asked the question, um, why are we considering changing the name in the first place? And that's the time it clicked for me, you know, like I really, at that point I said, but wait a minute, I didn't really feel like I wanted to change the name per se, but since it came up, I'm gonna just, you know, kind of go along with it. But then by settling back in that question, I realized, like, no, I really liked the name, you know. It really felt right. I kind of played around. I was playing around with some changes, and I'm like, I keep coming back to Grace Between Races, but it feels right. So yeah, and that's what why I decided that I don't feel like any need to change it.
Yeah. Yeah, just to clarify, right? And just to give
Mhm.
some more direction.
Right.
And so that's what we're doing right here, right? Because
Yeah.
this group, as we all are, is like an ever-evolving process. And
Yes.
we want to invite people into being in that process with us around looking at issues around the construct of race and how racism has happened
Yeah.
and so much harm has been created as a result.
Right.
And so we are inviting you to engage with us in this new kind of iteration, I guess you might
Yeah.
say, because we used to do gatherings, right? We used to have like every couple weeks we'd have a different guest come,
Yeah.
mostly folks of color, and share their experience and what they've learned and how they've grown as they've woken up to the reality of racism and experienced it, but also cultivated so much empowerment in their lives through their
Yeah.
individual work. And those gatherings were super inspiring. And I learned so much. I learned
Yeah.
so much.
Absolutely. There was a lot of self-growth in that. There's always learning and healing that could come across from or come out from sitting and hearing, pulling from different people's experiences. And I think that reflected what Grace Between Races can do. Even if we are not having those gatherings every 2 weeks, it could still have in a slightly different format, but still have the capacity um, to help us to grow and pull from each other's experiences and and learn. So this is how I view the process. Um,
Mm.
Hillary, we are going to move on to the mission statement and the vision. So I'm just going to read that out. So I'm just going to get the mission statement.
Because we tweaked them a little bit in order to
Yes.
reflect more clearly what we are wanting to cultivate.
So this is part of the whole updating of all of this. What we're doing is we kind of revise the mission statement and the vision a little bit. So the mission says that it's a space for honest dialogue and storytelling on diverse topics that address cultural differences while looking at the effects of racism and the possibility of race reconciliation. And the vision is that we have is we holding this vision is cultivating experiences of connection and transformation between our differences in understanding that we are all between the extremes of polarization of white and black and healing from this duality, which causes racialized trauma. We strive to connect beyond the separation to understand and support each other. And I think this really stands out for as the vision for us. I know for myself that this feels so much more aligned. As Hillary mentioned before, when we started, we had some ideas, but by going having the gatherings and now coming to the point of more people coming in and making all the posts and exchanging discussing about their experiences and so on. We are coming to realize that certain things are feeling more aligned with our vision, and wherever we need to tweak it, we are doing the adjustment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's ever evolving. Part of it was I started doing white allies work in a group of just white folks for us to really dig in to our own intergenerational racialized trauma as well. And that also work comes a lot from Resmaa Menakem's work. And so through that, I developed these assumptions about why we are here and what we can hold together. And if you don't agree with these, then that's okay. This might not be the space for you, and that's okay. And there's probably another space for you too. So they are, we all have trauma and intergenerational racialized trauma as both the oppressor and the oppressed. We are all worthy of love and all good things. We are all interconnected, and none of us are free until we are all free.
Right.
We have a shared commitment to addressing racism and white body supremacy, which is this term from Resmaa Menakem's work, and that affects us all. That experience of white body supremacy, in that white people believe better. And in other words, we want to be more effective change agents as allies of our Black and Indigenous brothers and sisters, or people who have higher levels of melanin in their skin, or to simply just be yourself, if that is you. And that includes supporting people of color to be in leadership for our collective awakening. And we have a shared commitment to mobilize and to act to end white supremacy.
Yep. And so we have a few guidelines that we implemented to follow. And again, we have updated this as well. So I'm going to do a few of them, and Hillary's going to do a few of them. And so the first one is practice self-inquiry. I think this is very important for us to do, to practice courage in sharing, being vulnerable, being raw and honest with what we're sharing. This has been a key for me. I know sometimes it's not as easy because, I mean, it calls us to go to the heart. And I think from my experience, it's necessary for us to touch there, to you know, keep going back to the heart, because that's where we make these connections, and you know, it pushes us, it helps us to open us up to really staying connected with each other, because the heart is everything. It guides us. The other one is being supportive of others, sharing their experiences. Yeah, curiosity, you know, we have to be curious, because otherwise we could have our own opinions and assumptions about things. But again, while doing the gathering, we learn so much from hearing from other people's perspective, and I think it's the work, you know. It's where we evolve from this narrow-minded, being in blinders kind of way of being, you know. Offering relevant information is another one. This is why we make the changes, because obviously time is changing, we are evolving, situations are changing in the world, and we have to be able to be flexible enough to roll with the punches. I can only say that you know, throughout the years, I have had to make many changes. And something that's been coming up for me lately is about birthing the process of change and birthing is so parallel, because to make change is not, it's not a comfortable thing, you know, to confront what we will call the status quo and things that we are so familiar with and normal to us. To challenge those things are not it takes courage. And like in birthing, there's a certain amount of discomfort and pain that goes along with that, and we have to be realistic with that. But through the birthing process, you will always, something new will come out of it. And so this is the work. I mean, this is what we are all called here to do. This is my opinion, and how I feel strong, and I feel strongly about it, is that we are all called, especially at this time, to birth something new. And I hope that, you know, we will all be on this journey, sharing and birthing this new thing together. So the other one is equal opportunity for all who are present to share. Yeah, I mean, this whole diversity thing is, it's a big word now, but I mean, there aren't any other way, you know. Looking for equal opportunity should not even be a question, but it is the one that we are faced with right now. All human beings are relevant. We have, we came from creation. We have the right to self-realize, you know, and self-actualize, and not be bullied into being something that we are not. I think self-preservation is really the key. But once we consciously evolve as a human race, we those barriers are like broken down, because then once you are conscious and you are connected, you realize that you see yourself in another person. It doesn't matter race or color or you know, or religion or whatever. The other one is willingness to embrace discomfort. Yeah, and I think that goes back to, you know, willingness to embrace discomfort. We have to be able to sit with each other and address those things that might make us uncomfortable. Everybody coming from a different, you know, even if you're in the same race, even you're coming from a different household with different rules and different brought up, see, and sometimes it does not, it conflicts with what you know to be true. But it's only, again, it's only by speaking about those differences that we could see each other and create and you know, cross those barriers that keeping us in ignorance, and you know, and grow from them, basically. Speak from the heart of one's own experience. Yeah, well, this is like what I was saying before, going back to the heart and connecting from, you know, with the mother principle. For me, is always like with the heart and that nurturing and you know, grounding in love, because the heart speaks. That's the language of the heart, is love. So once we ground with love, we don't stay with that narrow minded thing. It's me, and the separation between you and me and them, and you know, all of this negative thing that comes out of not being able to feel other people's humanity. Yeah. So so that's basically with that. The other one is
I'll take over.
what you will take over from there.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes.
Answering half the guidelines, and I'll do the other half.
Yes.
A lot
Yes. Okay.
here. You know, we really want to create a safe space for people, and that requires a lot of each of us to take personal responsibility. But not everyone knows how to do that. It takes skill and practice. So part of that, we believe, is welcoming and receiving feedback with gratitude, and being actually receive feedback from people. And that's not easy. I still struggle with that, to be graceful in a way, and yet it's needed for us to grow. To celebrate risk taking for yourself and for others too, who do go beyond that comfort zone and stretch into transformation. And also confidentiality, in that we're not going to share another person's experience, if at all possible, in the space, although we might share posts that are other people's experience, but that it's from their words and they put it out and they made that available to be shared. So certainly if we're speaking, we're not going to share another person's name in our own post or our own thing, unless it's absolutely relevant to what we're doing and sharing, and that other person gave us permission. And also practicing a listening boundary, in that we are responsible for listening with boundaries, for ourselves and curiosity. So that's also, we already mentioned curiosity. And these actually last three come from this group that I trained with, to undo white body supremacy and heal racialized trauma. And that group is white, and although these I feel are relevant to everyone, and how we can practice together with good boundaries. So also practicing a containment boundary, and that we are responsible for containing and experiencing our own body's responses, and not projecting those onto others and assuming what someone else is feeling. And so owning our own embodied experience, and even speaking to that or writing about that, is, I think, really relevant and helpful. And then practicing a speaking boundary, in that I'm responsible for speaking to be seen and known, and to know that I can pass, right? We don't always have to share, and yet the opportunity is that we get to put more of our truth out there, and to know ourselves better, and also to have ourselves be known by others, and to feel more comfortable with that. And that is definitely a practice, as it all is. Yeah. And so this work, and some of this language has been developed by Resmaa Menakem as well, as I want to acknowledge him. And you can find his book, My Grandmother's Hands, and his organization, Cultural Somatics, online as well. So as we're finishing up here, we just want to acknowledge that we are no longer doing these gatherings regularly, but we do want to offer the possibility of having a gathering every so often that would be less formal and less about having guests come in and share their expertise, and more about us all coming together and supporting each other, and coming where we are with what we're dealing with around our experience of racialized trauma, and having a council format and sharing together. And that can be really edgy, especially if it's people who are of very different experiences coming together. So I do encourage us all to get the support in our own groups, whether that's a white allies group or that's a people of colors group, and to have the people we feel really safe to go into that really deep work together with, and then to be here to come together and to share from a place of curiosity and wanting to connect, and acknowledging that there may be harm that happens, and that's a part of how we grow too. And so we don't want to harm each other. We do want to learn and grow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well said. And so I just want to encourage everyone to feel free to give us your feedback, and to keep sharing relevant and to the topic, and your posts. We appreciate it. And again, we all on this journey together. Nobody is, greater than anybody, or nobody here have all the answers, but it is an opportunity to be supportive and to be supported in expressing your raw experiences. So hopefully we all could benefit and grow and learn from it. And so thank you very much for all your feedbacks and sharing so far. And we on this journey together. So let's do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for watching, and we look forward to being in the process with you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.